Good afternoon. I see there's a lot of discussion going on. I'm sorry to interrupt. So let us start, as usual, on Fridays with the President's agenda for next week. On Tuesday, President von der Leyen will be in Strasbourg to chair the meeting of the College. On Wednesday morning, she will participate in the Parliament's plenary debate on urgent actions to revive EU competitiveness, deepen the EU single market and reduce the cost of living. In the afternoon, the President will then travel to Antwerp to deliver the opening keynote speech at the Antwerp European Industries Summit. On Thursday, as you know, the President will participate in the informal meeting of the members of the European Council. And finally, on Friday, President von der Leyen will travel to Munich to participate in the Munich Security Conference 2026. She will be there until Saturday, participating in the conference. So this is it for the agenda of the President next week. Now I would like to call Thomas, who has news related to the Digital Services Act. Thomas.
Thank you, Paula. So TikTok's addictive design is in breach of the Digital Services Act. This is the Commission's preliminary view after a thorough investigation. Let me give you some statistics. TikTok reaches 170 million users in the European Union. Most of these are children. TikTok is by far the most used platform after midnight by children between 13 and 18. 7% of children between 12 and 15 spend between 4 and 5 hours daily on TikTok. These statistics are extremely alarming. Why is all of this happening? Because TikTok offers infinite scrolling, autoplay, push notifications, and highly personalized recommender systems. These features lead to the compulsive use of the app, especially for our kids, and this poses major risks to their mental health and well-being. The measures that TikTok has in place are simply not enough. Screen time management and parental controls are not properly working on TikTok. TikTok did not properly assess how its addictive features can harm users, and they did not implement effective measures to mitigate such risks. TikTok now has the right to defend themselves. If they don't do this properly, the Commission may decide to issue a non-compliance decision leading to 6% of the company's global annual turnover as fines. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. This is a subject on which many of you had asked us whether there would be action, and here it is, announced to you just now by Thomas. Je continue en français pour vous rappeler d'une réunion informelle des ministres de l'Environnement qui se tient aujourd'hui à Chypre. Les commissaires Hoekstra et Rosval y représentent la Commission. Les ministres échangent sur la mise en œuvre effective de la stratégie européenne pour la résilience dans le domaine de l'eau et l'élaboration d'un nouveau cadre intégré pour la résilience climatique et la gestion des risques en Europe. L'expérience de l'Union européenne dans les négociations internationales portant sur le climat fera également l'objet d'une réflexion entre les ministres. Enfin, les ministres échangeront aussi sur les principaux défis liés à l'économie circulaire, parmi d'autres sujets. Une conférence de presse avec les commissaires Hoekstra et Rosval aura lieu à l'issue de la réunion prévue vers 15h30. Donc, comme d'habitude, nous vous invitons à réserver vos questions sur les sujets environnement et climat pour cette conférence de presse. And now, again, to conclude in English, and before giving you the floor, today's the opening of the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Executive Vice President Minzato and Commissioner Mikhalif will be there. representing the European Commission at the opening ceremony. This event unites athletes from Europe and globally in a shared celebration of excellence, of fair play and international unity, values at the core of the European Union. So let us wish the best to all the athletes participating, and of course especially to the European ones. And the 27 EU member states will be represented in the Games, and thus symbolically all of us at the European Union. May the best win, and on this pleasant note, happy to take your questions. There, yes.
Hi, I have a question for Thomas on digital. This week, there was a report published by a U.S. congressional committee that not only accused you of censorship, which we've been over many times, but also revealed the names of many officials from the Commission working on these files, as well as officials from other regulators, Slovakia, Ireland, France. What are you doing to protect these people? And what have you told them so far? It's been more than 3 days, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. This highlights once again the importance first to follow due process. This is what the Commission is always doing. Before we publish something, we are taking the time to take care of the interests of companies, and we give them the chance to remove market-sensitive information. That due process should be followed from both sides. Indeed, a lot of names of officials working on this file have been released, have been made public. Let me reassure you that, of course, the Commission fully stands with its staff. Under Article 24 of the Staff Regulation, the Commission also has the duty and the obligation to protect its staff members when they exercise their duties, and this could lead to providing them with legal and financial assistance if and when relevant. All of this is always assessed on a case-by-case basis, but general point, let me finish on that. Due process is very important. We are very transparent. We always follow this due process. We expect it from all sides.
Thank you. Other questions to Thomas? I'm sorry, a follow-up there?
Thank you, Thomas. So just to be clear, you could offer them with financial and legal assistance, but you haven't. Has there been any official communication telling these people you are safe? And can you respond also directly to Jim Jordan's statement that, I mean, they say they did follow due process, and that if you work for the Commission, which is an executive body, it's fair game to release your name and email address?
On the second point, first, what I just told you is that we give the other side the possibility to remove sensitive information if they wish so. We have nothing to hide, but that same chance should be given to the other side. So yes, there is a due process to be followed on all sides. That's on point number one. On your first question, is there communication going on with our staff? Yes, there is always communication going on with our staff. Now, you ask me, did we tell them they are safe? I mean, this is more a question for the other side, not for us, if they are safe or not. We definitely reassure our staff that we stand by them, we stand with them, and we are ready to support them if appropriate.
Thank you. Yes, Marco.
Thank you very much, Marco Bresolini, Italian newspaper La Stampa. This morning, many of us have seen content shared on the social platform representing former U.S. President Barack Obama and his wife as the monkeys. This is something that was published by U.S. President Donald Trump on his Truth account. Do you consider this content as something that could be considered as a form of hate speech racism, so something that big platform should remove in the EU under the DSA rules, or is just freedom of expression, in your view? Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Feels good to feel safe at home in Europe. This is precisely why we have a regulation in place. So racism, hate speech, illegal content has no place online. Not because the Commission says so, because this is illegal in real life. We have a general principle, at least in Europe, which is that what is illegal offline, in real life, should be illegal online. Let me give you a very concrete example. Marco, you take a poster, a pedopornographic poster and you run around the street, you'll not get very far away. If you have terrorist content on a poster and you run around the street, or hate speech or racism on that poster, again, you will probably be arrested after the first or second corner. That same principle has to apply online. When it comes to individual users, criminal investigations can be possible. That's not for the Commission. This is not what we're doing. However, when you have a platform that is amplifying such type of content, then, of course, in Europe, they have an obligation. They become liable, and we can open investigations like we did, and there could be financial sanctions. But again, let me just add one point on this, because it's very important. The Commission here, we're not looking at individual content from a DSA point of view. This can be done by a criminal investigation. It's not in our remit. We don't look at one social media post by one platform. We look at the systems these platforms put in place in Europe to avoid that type of content is being amplified, boosted in visibility, because this can be extremely harmful, just to set the record straight again.
Razia.
Thank you. Razia Akoc, AFP News Agency. I want to come back to TikTok, which is owned by, it's a Chinese-owned company. And so my first question would be, is the European Commission shy about hitting the Americans? Because to the best of my knowledge, there is a similar investigation into Meta's Facebook and Instagram. And I imagine that perhaps we'll see conclusions soon that are similar, maybe. And then I also wanted to ask, there seems to be some mixing of the social media ban, children, because it's kind of all part of the same let's protect children. And there's this idea that is really being thrown around now that the Commission is running scared and that member states are moving forward. And so I'd like to know, is the European Commission running scared?
Razia, there's no shyness, there's no scare. And once we initiate investigations with one platform of a given origin, we're asked, why on this one or not on the other, and are you scared of the other one? And then eventually we come with the other one. So we follow, as also Thomas has recalled, we follow due process also in terms of taking forward the different cases. And this takes time, takes analysis, and so when we're ready, we initiate new investigations, as was the case today. Anything to add, Thomas?
Yes, maybe just on the member states reference that you're referring to, Raz. So first, let me say that we fully stand with our member states. What have we seen over the last days? Massive attacks of our member states, sometimes also members of the national governments, for trying to hold platforms accountable. We are fully with them. Why are we fully with them? Because this is a top priority for the Commission. If you look at what this Commission has done, or the previous Commission under the same leadership under President von der Leyen, we have negotiated a massively important legislation, which is the Digital Services Act and the DMA also, of course, to hold platforms accountable. We're not shying away from anything. We enforce our legislation. The first fine was given to X in December last year. We're not shying away from taking action with American platforms if need be. So on our member states, we fully stand with them. Let's remind also that it's extremely important also to respect the harmonizing effect of the Digital Services Act, precisely because the interest of this European Commission is to protect the 450 million citizens we have in the European Union. And also this relates back to the decision today, especially when you see a platform like TikTok that reaches 170 million of them in the EU.
Razia, a follow-up.
Just very quickly, because you mentioned other platforms, and I am probably too much of a millennial to know much, but I think the kids also use Snapchat. So is there any concerns about the Snapchat platform?
Yes, Snapchat is also under the Commission's radar, definitely. We haven't opened an investigation here. We have sent a request for information already to them. It was more relating to the selling of illegal products to our kids, vapes, for example, alcohol, etc. So, of course, we take care also of other platforms. Now, I mean, to come back to today's decision, there is a substantial issue with the addictive design of TikTok. This is why we preliminarily found TikTok in breach of the DSA, and TikTok will have to urgently address this addictive design in Europe, because this is definitely not protecting our kids and our citizens, and the features they have there to keep our kids and our citizens online has to be properly assessed and mitigated to be compliant with the Digital Services Act.
So we're not leaving any platform unturned, Razia. Yes, David.
Yes, thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale. It's a follow-up on the issue of the American platforms and TikTok and the different treatment. Because today you are going to the core of the design of TikTok. Basically, how the algorithm is promoting itself, and so on and so on. And the addictive effect of that. And you just said that this is a quite an important issue for the well-being of our kids, of Europeans, and so on. On X, there is a similar problem, at least as you presented it in December 2023, when you opened the investigation. The algorithm, it's quite damaging for the public debate, for democracy, and so on and so on. Time has passed, more than 2 years. Why it is taking so long for X to conclude the investigation and say, yes, it's true that it's damaging or not? Then, Paola, if I may, a direct question for you. Do you condemn the message of President Trump, message published with former President Obama and his wife, as European Commission? Thank you.
I start on the first one. So on the first one, on the difference of treatment. Look, David, I'll go a little bit deeper in a minute, but I'll start by saying that there is no difference in treatment, to the opposite. We take facts like they come to us. We take the platforms and the risks they pose exactly in the order and how they come to us, and we address all these risks. You're mentioning X. First request for information was for X. First investigation was for X. First preliminary findings were for X. First fine was for X. Not because we target them, but this just shows there was a substantial, and there is a substantial issue with X, so we had to address that platform. We did. We are doing the investigations in parallel with all of them, be it Asian platforms, be it American platforms, or be it European platforms, because let's not forget that a third of the investigations that are ongoing are against European platforms. Now, on the addictive design in the recommender system, why TikTok today and not X has nothing to do with the political context. It has maybe a bit more to do with the market relevance of these platforms. TikTok is 170 million users in Europe. X doesn't barely reach the 100 million users in Europe. So if you look at both of them and the evidence for TikTok on the addictive design, I mean, I gave you statistics before. We have massive evidence that TikTok urgently needs to address. Now, when it comes to the risk that X is posing, the investigation continues. We're in touch with X. We have just opened a new investigation, just showing again how we don't treat anyone differently here. But again, let me come back to the first point that I also gave to Elisa. We follow due process, and once we have a solid case at our disposal, we will not hesitate to take action.
And on your other question, David, our language, the language of the European Commission vis-à-vis public figures, including politicians, is one which is based on respect. That's all I can say on your question. Yes, please.
Hello, Thomas, Matthew Newman from MLX. Just to follow up on the issue about the Commission officials named in that report, there's been threats that officials who've been involved in these cases would be barred from entering the U.S. I'm just wondering if you've heard about any follow-ups on those threats, if there are any specific plans for Commission officials to go to the U.S. and then there's some big privacy and antitrust conferences coming up in Washington. Have you heard if they're specifically having trouble with visas, and what kind of reaction does the Commission have for that?
Thanks, Matthew. Aware of specific cases that directly affect Commission officials? No, not that I'm aware of. But definitely aware of decisions that were taken on the other side of the Atlantic on 5 individuals at the end of last year, including former Commissioner Breton. On this, we have, of course, engaged with our American counterparts. Discussions took place, and we have obviously raised our concerns. We have condemned these decisions, and we are taking it from there, the US.
Good. Yes, there in the back.
Hi, Enrique García, Cadena Ser Spanish Radio. I wanted to ask if the Commission has any specific comment on the messages from Elon Musk and Pavel Durov via Telegram this week to the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. Elon Musk, for example, said that Sánchez is a fascist. Does the Commission condemn these messages? Thank you.
Thank you. Full solidarity to the Spanish Prime Minister. We, of course, condemn any attacks on the leaders of our member states. Again, we stand in full solidarity with them. We even support with what we're doing here with the Digital Services Act. We support actions that are being taken at national level to hold these platforms accountable. Now, of course, again, we have the DSA and its harmonizing effect that is of key importance and that needs to be respected. Final point of this, what does Europe do? We speak with a lot of respect, and we expect the same the other way around.
Yes. There's a code of conduct to be followed, which is based on respect, to which we attach a lot of importance and would expect it also from others. Yes.
Isabelle Horry pour la RTS. En t'écoutant, je trouve que c'est assez glaçant quand on est si on est un parent d'un utilisateur de TikTok ou des choses comme ça. Tu parles de risques pour la santé mentale, de 170 millions d'utilisateurs, de preuves massives. Mais à l'heure à laquelle on se parle, TikTok est toujours en fonction et ça continue. Et donc, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas moyen de prendre des mesures conservatoires dans le cadre du DSA, vu ce risque? Et deuxièmement, qu'est-ce que vous dites aujourd'hui aux usagers?
Merci Isabelle, c'est effectivement glaçant quand on est parent, mais je pense que quand on est parent, on a aussi une responsabilité. Et je pense que l'éducation commence à la maison, je pense qu'il y a un certain nombre de mesures qui peuvent être prises à la maison, je pense que ces mesures peuvent être prises aussi à l'école avec des enseignants pour encadrer les enfants. On a aussi des statistiques qui montrent que l'utilisation massive de TikTok a aussi lieu à l'école, durant les cours. Donc la Commission européenne ne va pas pouvoir tout solutionner. Notre focus est sur TikTok, sur la plateforme, et on va faire en sorte que TikTok adapte ici son modèle addictif pour protéger nos citoyens. Je suis d'accord avec toi, le constat est assez glaçant pour les parents, mais les parents ne peuvent pas non plus se dédouaner de toute responsabilité.
Je vais prendre une question en ligne et après on va essayer d'avoir aussi d'autres sujets aujourd'hui. Tommaso.
Yes, many thanks for the floor. Good afternoon, Tommaso Gallavotti, Median Kronos Italy. It's just a question on TikTok, if I may, because I followed the technical briefing, but I missed it. I wonder if the possible fine will be calculated on the revenues of TikTok, which are estimated at about $155 billion. 6% would be 7.3, something like that, billion euros. Is it correct or not? Thank you. I mean, the max.
Indeed, Tommaso, the DSA is a powerful tool. This is a very theoretical amount. Fines are always proportionate to the breach. There are a certain number of mitigating factors. Let's recall that we're not at a fine yet. Step by step, TikTok now has the right to defend itself, but theoretically speaking, yes, the fine is addressed to the provider of TikTok, which is ByteDance, and the potential fine would go up to 6% of that provider's global annual turnover indeed.
Final question for Thomas from Sandor.
Hello, yes. It's about a Hungarian government. Actually, Prime Minister Viktor Orbán published on Wednesday a deepfake which portrays President von der Leyen and Hungarian opposition leader Péter Magyar, and the content and the context is that von der Leyen demanded that Péter Magyar wins the elections and then sends Hungarian public money to Ukraine. Do you feel that this deepfake, which is actually still online, is a violation? And how do you feel about the content?
Recall what I said previously. When we were speaking about respect, acting in a reasonable way, and not spreading disinformation, this of course applies also to leaders within the European Union and to our member states. Now, when it comes to that specific content, I mean, platforms also have an obligation beyond the fact that, of course, EU leaders and users should be responsible. What we're doing with the DSA is to look at how potentially a platform may be amplifying such type of content, which would also be not acceptable. So no specific comments beyond what I said on the individual content. We, of course, take it from a platform's perspective, but we ask, of course, and we expect from EU leaders to treat everyone with respect and to post in a reasonable way and not to spread disinformation.
Yeah. There are respectful ways of expressing your disagreement with any political views, and that's what we call upon. It's to express your different views in a respectful way. And with this, we move on to other topics. There in the back. Yes, please.
Hi, Antonio Fumagalli for Neue Zürcher Zeitung. I have a question for Balázs. It's on the Epstein files and the former commissioner, Peter Mandelson. I think on Tuesday you said that you are assessing if there was a breach of the code of conduct by the former commissioner. This was some days ago. Do you have any result or preliminary results to share with us? Thank you.
And actually, Balázs is not here. Maciej is stepping in. But on this precise question, I can tell you that we are indeed assessing the documents as they are being released and assessing them against any possible breach of the code of conduct. We don't have any news compared to what we have told you at the beginning of the week with regard to former Commissioner Mandelson. You have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Can you just explain a bit more precisely what exactly are you looking at? How does the code of conduct apply to former commissioners? Does it make a difference that the UK left the European Union? Can you be a bit more precise about your research? Thank you.
Yes, the code of conduct applies to a member of the college while it is in exercise of its functions, but then, of course, there are also former members of the college are bound notably by rules of confidentiality when it comes to the exercise of their functions. So this is the type of things that is being looked into. Other questions? Yes, Magnus.
Thank you, Magnus, with Euractiv. I wanted to ask about Commissioner Kubilius and Commissioner Fito's partaking in an EPP event yesterday. Valérie Ayé and Raja Garcia has then since called for an investigation into whether this is tantamount to a breach of the Commission's code of conduct, who states that you are not allowed to take part in national elections and campaign on anybody's behalf. First of all, I think the most pressing question is, are you planning to look into this?
Thank you, Magnus, and it will be for Maciej stepping in for Balázs.
Thank you, Magnus. Good afternoon. Indeed, yesterday Commissioners Fito, Kubilius and Kos visited Slovenia in their official capacity. They held meetings with both the ruling and opposition parties, therefore conducting politically balanced program. During their visit, the Commissioners intervened strictly on EU matters and on matters relating to their portfolios. Under the Code of Conduct, members of the College have the responsibility to maintain political contacts at the EU level and also at the level of member states. Furthermore, the mission letters ask commissioners to regularly travel to member states.
Thank you. Since we have Maciej on the podium and also bearing in mind he's stepping for Balázs. Yes, Magnus, you have a follow-up.
So, just to have you say it out loud, you are not planning to look into this?
We looked into it and we just replied to it. Yes, please.
Louise Guillot with Context, just on this and a follow-up to my colleague's question. Commissioner Kos also in the press said that she would not want Janez Janša to be re-elected. So do you consider that election interference? Is that also a breach of the Code of Conduct according to your analysis? Thank you.
So commissioners are political leaders and they have their possibility to express their political views and I would interpret it in this context.
Yes, please.
Blaž Mohorčič with the Slovenian press agency. I have a follow-up to Magnus' question. So, just to be sure, you are going to examine the circumstances of the visit in Slovenia of the 3 or 2 commissioners, and I would also like to know who, if the Commission paid all the expenses of the travel of the commissioners to Slovenia. Thank you.
As Maciej has said, these visits were done in the quality of the commissioners as members of the college. They covered their areas of competence, and it's in this sense that this visit is to be seen by the 3 commissioners. They also had meetings, if I'm well informed, with other representatives in Slovenia. Other questions to Maciej? No. We move on. Jorge.
Hello, Paula. Earlier this week, French President Emmanuel Macron sent his diplomatic advisor Emmanuel Bon to a discreet trip to Moscow to speak directly with the Kremlin. I know President von der Leyen met with Macron yesterday in Paris. So did they discuss this topic? Does the President support this re-engagement despite the fact that there is no unanimity between member states and the common position remains diplomatic isolation? And what are the next steps in her view? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jorge. So, no, this was not a topic discussed yesterday at the meeting between President von der Leyen and President Macron. But yes, there had been contacts regarding this visit by a representative of the French government. And as I've also had the opportunity to already say in this room a while ago, at some point there will have to be a contact with President Putin. And we would like it to be sooner rather than later if the conditions are met. But the issue is that pretty much we're not seeing any signals of willingness to really come to a deal, to really come to peace in Ukraine. So this needs to be taken into consideration when we're speaking about direct discussions with President Putin. A follow-up?
Yes. Yeah, I remember when you said that the talks could take place at some point, but the conditions are not there yet. So does the President support the fact that France is re-engaging somehow with the Kremlin? Because the conditions, as you said, are not met, but France is moving ahead, and there is no common position among member states. So it's okay for France to go ahead with this initiative? Thank you.
No common position. At the same time, we are seeing indeed a shift in the position of some member states, and we're seeing, and you've heard in the past days, several member states opening the possibility. So we'll see where we are, and we'll see if indeed this is something that is becoming common, and that if there's a majority of leaders within the EU who would be defending such an approach. So for the moment, we cannot say more than this, but we see indeed a shift in the attitude by some leaders. Yes.
Tatiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Ukraine. My question is about sanctions. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said yesterday that any further U.S. sanctions against Russia, including Shadow Fleet, are dependent on the peace talks. And I'm wondering, maybe the delay with the announcement of the 20th package of sanctions by the Commission is also linked to the peace talks. Maybe sanctions are used as a leverage at the peace talks with Russia. Can you comment on that? And also, HRVP Kallas said that the goal is to adopt the sanctions before 24th of February, to the anniversary of the full-scale aggression against Ukraine. Is this target still realistic? Because it's only a little bit more than 2 weeks left to the date. Thank you.
Thanks. Sanctions, we see sanctions as one means to indeed putting pressure on Russia to come to the negotiating table. So as a means to eventually have a condition to achieve the peace, the so much desired and longed for and deserved peace in Ukraine. So we are working very actively on the 20th package of sanctions. We had said that this should be ready soon. So let's see when exactly all the conditions are there for the adoption. But I can confirm that indeed also in the past days a lot of work has been going on this 20th package of sanctions. So I think we could expect it rather soon. Yes.
Euroscope Georgia, Tamara Nutsubidze. I want to ask you about the amendments to repressive law against civil society and media in Georgia. They were adopted a few days ago, and members of Georgian Dream openly stated that with this they want to prevent European Union's help to Georgia's civil society and media. And also today, Shalva Papuashvili compared European Union to Soviet Union. So what's your estimation of such kind of behaviors and acts? Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. I'm not a psychologist, but this is a classic deflection and projection tactic. This is exactly what is happening in Georgia right now, unfortunately, and we do not see any signs of improving the current situation for democracy, for liberty, for the freedoms that the European Union is supporting. The EU is supporting in Georgia the civil society, the freedom of speech. When it comes to the political contacts, as you know, we have downgraded the political contacts. We have also stopped all the direct assistance to the Georgian authorities and also suspended the visa-free travel for diplomats and officials and their family. On our side, we will always continue to stand by the Georgian people and also discuss further measures with the Georgian authorities to revert to a democratic path.
Other questions on foreign affairs to Anita? No, but I see more foreign affairs questions for Anwar. Is Anwar in? No, it's you. It's Anita for Anwar today. So, Mose.
Yes, thank you, Paula. I would like to ask a question about the talks we started this morning in Oman between the United States and Iran, in order, perhaps the last attempt to avert a possible American strike against Iran and the regional war in the region. I would like to ask if there is any common EU position on the scope of those talks, besides, of course, the dominant question, which would be Iran's nuclear program and enrichment of uranium. What about other issues, such as its ballistic missile program, its support to terrorist organizations in the region, and also, of course, its brutal crackdown on protesters? Should also they, according to EU, be included in the talks? Thank you.
Thank you, Mose. We have a clear position when it comes to the nuclear talks and also the non-proliferation treaty, and the message that we have been passing also to all our contacts and as well in the international fora, including the International Atomic Energy Agency and the UN Security Council, is that the EU remains convinced that diplomacy and negotiations are the only way to achieve a lasting solution to the Iranian nuclear issue, and on our side, the HRVP will continue to facilitate a negotiated solution, also in line with the reinstated UN Security Council resolution.
Thank you. Other questions on foreign affairs? No. Then Theodora. Sorry, Catherine.
Not on foreign affairs.
No, we're done with foreign affairs,
That's
Catherine.
Right.
Go ahead. No, okay. Yes, Diego. Oliver. I need a weekend.
No problem, Eric. Okay. Only the old people get that one. Speaking of old people, and you mentioned the Olympic spirit, really old people remember that in 2021, ahead of the Tokyo Olympics, then Vice President and Commissioner for, I think, promoting the European way of life, Skinas, insisted on EU member state athletes carrying the Star-Spangled Blue banner to the stadium at the opening ceremony. We also remember him carrying the torch at the Athens Olympics together with Commissioner Gabriel. These were unforgettable moments of Titius, Altius, Fortius. I don't see any of this European, this is an excellent sweater. I don't see any of that ambition on the part of the Commission now to sort of promote Europe there at this Olympic stage. Is that because you realized it's pointless? As the International Olympic Committee says, the European Union flag is apparently a sign of political activism, which they don't want? Or is there something else behind it? Is it not worth it, or why?
Oliver, Eva put on this shirt today, especially for you. As you can see, we could anticipate your question. But it is more than that, indeed. It is a signal of support. But Eva, you may want to elaborate.
Thank you, Oliver, and I'm glad that you like my sweater. There is never enough opportunities to promote the European flag, but as for the Olympics, we will promote the European flag, and we will promote Europe, because we think that it's a great opportunity. We are happy that the Olympics are again happening here in Europe, because it's an opportunity to show what is Europe about. We want to promote our values. We want to show that Europe is in line with the Olympic values. Our values are respect, solidarity, diversity, and we are united in diversity. I can't wait to see the opening ceremony this evening. I cannot tell you all the details, how Europe will be promoted, because it's still a secret, so watch it tonight. But we are happy to promote this flag.
Now we're curious, Eva.
Okay, so I'll have to change my evening plans for that. I have a slightly more serious sports politics related question to you, and bear with me if you probably already answered it recently. It concerns FIFA, and it concerns the explicit wish of FIFA President Infantino to reintegrate Russian football teams in international competitions. He said particularly youth teams should be integrated, and I think the reasoning he gave is that this ban doesn't help at all, and you shouldn't punish poor Russian young football players for the horrible political situation. I would assume, but that's probably more a comment than a question, Infantino is really eager in getting the Russian market back into FIFA's advertising model, but that's another question. What do you think of that? And if FIFA were to reintegrate Russian Football Federation teams, would it face any EU sanctions, given that we're sanctioning huge parts of the Russian state apparatus, and sports teams, sports federations are closely linked politically to the government there?
Thanks. Yeah, this is more political, and it's not really about Olympics, but we can also speak about the political aspect of Olympics. Regarding Infantino, I think Commissioner Mikalev has been quite vocal several times. We underline that the European values always need to be respected, both in culture and sport domains, and we support the inclusivity of sports and cultural events. Nevertheless, we think that the Russian athletes, and that's also why we take the note of the International Olympic Committee, who has made the decision to make the Russian athletes neutral at the Winter Olympic Games. We agree with this position because we think at the core of the values of Olympics is also peace. And Russia is still on the Russian aggression against Ukraine. So we respect the right of the sport federations and cultural organizations to decide on the participation, but we take note of their decisions. And regarding the Olympics this evening, the Russian athletes will be represented as neutral under the white flag. We take note of this decision, and that's a decision of the International Olympic Committee.
Good. Other questions to Eva? No? Then we give Catherine another chance.
Working this time?
There you go. We see and hear you, Catherine.
Thank you very much. I think it's a question more on financial services than on health, but it concerns the right to be forgotten. And a proposal was made in a joint statement on bringing forward guidance on this issue. But we were promised a code of conduct at one stage, I think, in the Beating Cancer Plan for 2023. And I think the different parties couldn't agree on that. So is this going to be over and above what might have been, or a new code of conduct, or are you still looking at the possibility of a code of conduct? And the statement also points to the Consumer Credit Act as an example of how things are working, and setting a maximum period for people who have who are successfully in remission. But that period is 15 years. So that seems not like, well, to use their favourite word of the Commission, it's not proportionate. And the European Society for Medical Oncologists see 5 to 7 years as a useful surrogate for describing people as being cured as such. So I'm just wondering, I appreciate that you're looking at the complexity of the issues, but it's been extensively discussed, and indeed the Commission have paid a great deal of money for a study on this issue. So will those periods be reviewed? And given the medical knowledge that we have, that 15 years is way too long. Thank you.
So, Catherine, your question, just to put it into context, you're putting the question of the right to be forgotten, which has been raised, I think, yesterday in communication material that we put forward in relation to the cancer treatment plan. And this is indeed at the crossroads between our policies on health, but also financial services. So just to put it into the context, and in this sense, indeed covered by both Eva and Siobhan. Eva.
Yes, maybe I can just say briefly something about the health aspect, and then my colleague Siobhan can complement with the financial services aspects. We had a World Cancer Day this week, and on this occasion we wanted to announce something positive for the cancer patients, which is this right to be forgotten that concerns financial services. We had at the same time the 5th anniversary of the Europe's Beating Cancer plan, which had a very positive and significant impact around Europe. We know that a huge percentage of cancer can be treated, and we know that through these methods you are talking about, we can improve early detection of the cancer, we can improve treatment, prevention, and we can help many people across Europe. So we work under the cancer plan with many organizations around Europe. I don't have the numbers you're asking about. I can check it and get back bilaterally. And for the rest, my colleague Siobhan can explain the aspect of financial services, how the cancer patients can be impacted.
Yeah, and today we even have place for 3 of us. So Siobhan, feel free to join us. Before I make sure that we don't have any further questions for Eva.
Thanks, Paula, and thanks, Catherine, for the question. Of course, just to complement what Eva has already mentioned, and of course, we will begin work on guidance focused on the current framework vis-a-vis the right to be forgotten in financial services, taking into account, of course, progress in cancer treatment and survival rates, which I know you mentioned in your question, Catherine, and in line with the latest scientific evidence. So the guidance will build, of course, on the 2 years of work already carried out by insurers, medical organizations, and NGOs working with cancer survivors.
Thank you, Siobhan. Any other questions to Eva? Let me check online. Does not seem to be the case. To Siobhan, then. Any questions? No. Any other topics? Then I have a final question from Momchil. I don't know to whom.
It's to Eva.
It's?
To Eva.
It will be Eva after all. Okay, Eva, so go ahead, Momchil. We'll see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's not great sound. But
yeah, because I'm... okay, sir. Eva, you didn't answer the question. What will be the reaction if, in case, FIFA restores the Russian football clubs in the competition? And
Momchil, we cannot understand the question. The sound is really very bad in the connection.
Really?
Okay, yes. Let me suggest that you send us in writing the question, and we'll get back to you in the course of the afternoon. Okay?
Thank you.
Good. And then to satisfy everyone today, I see this is the final question, which we can still take. Balázs Marton, online.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Balázs Marton from telex.hu, and I have a question, I believe, for Marcus on a rule of law issue. So, decree issued by the Hungarian government on Tuesday curtailed judicial actions against collecting so-called solidarity contributions from local governments. And there were several comments that this is basically breaking rule of law, and Budapest Mayor Gergely Karácsony stated that he wrote a letter to the European Commission because in his view it breaks the European Charter of Fundamental Rights. Did the European Commission receive such a letter? Does the European Commission have any views or planned steps on this subject yet? Thank you.
Balázs, thank you for the question. We have indeed seen the media reports on the new emergency measures, and we have also seen the reaction of some Hungarian courts to this decree. We are now analyzing this decree, and we will continue following the developments closely.
Good. Thank you, Marcus. And this brings us closer to the weekend. Bon appétit and wish you a good afternoon.